My goodness, Wakaru.
Alright, I got some ice cream too. Some non-dairy ice cream.
Oh, nice.
It's oat milk. Alright. This is gonna be pretty like
There we go.
it's gonna be pretty like off the cuff. I don't think I ever talk about like the way I do my writing process, which is probably even funnier for like everybody who's like, this guy writes. Yeah, I write. Yeah, I should watch your thing, right?
Oh, I was
you
throwing
want
it up
Avatar?
if you wanted that.
Yeah, sure. Let me.
I figured out how to turn off the head movements. That. Actually, wait, I gotta do some. Wakaru's gonna go away for a second.
Yeah.
Because my screen is going insane.
You have to pop out the thing.
I think I gotta turn down some settings on it when I open it. Simple. Small windows, simple graphic settings. Confirm. That. Start.
Okay, good. It's
not
only
going
covering
crazy yet.
Like capturing a very small area.
Yeah. Turn that off.
Where is this capturing?
Turn that off. Turn that on. Start sync with Avatar. Okay, there we go. That's gonna work a lot better. Now my screen's not going insane.
I'm like cautiously opening. It's literally not capturing anything right now. So a second. Turn up most likely.
Well, yeah, mine should only be capturing my mouth movements.
Oh, it's stupid.
Oh.
It's literally covered by the Word document I have open.
That is behind.
There we go. Now I can actually show your thing. Also, it's not capturing. Also, I'm capturing it at like very low res right now. What's up with that?
Yeah, mine's on simple.
Oh, okay.
For the graphics quality.
Okay. I can get a chroma key in.
I had to drop it on my computer because my screen just kept flickering on and off and on and off and on and off.
There you go.
Ba-ba-ba-ba.
Low res.
I can see it in the preview screen.
This is the actual stream.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean like my thing. So there it is. It was doing an advertisement.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, I discovered a new trick the other night. Providing. And it caused my planning to explode. I took what was supposed to be a small NPC, and I basically did a thing of, what if I chose to kind of design them around if they were being played by a specific actor or actress? And when I did that and started envisioning it, that character came together so well that they're now like a secondary main character. And I have plot points. I have all the plot.
Hopefully that's still readable on stream. I advertise your stream more than you stream.
I'm not even streaming right now, though.
I know. So it makes it better. You know, I literally like for like most of my most of my like evening stream stuff on my YouTube. I have your Twitch still linked.
How do I?
Like, go check out my friends. They do cool stuff. Not always.
Okay.
All right. So, for practice for myself as well, I'm gonna probably also do like some writing stuff. So that is small AF though. If you guys are trying to read this on screen, so
Yeah, it's not too bad.
That's gonna be much better. It's more legible. Normally I default to Comic Sans for my font of choice, but today we're taking it a little bit more serious, guys. Less Comic Sans, more standard Calibri size 11, which is fine. It's a fine font. Personally, don't.
Gone are the days of Times New Roman size 12.
Oh, I hate using size 12 or worse, size 14 Times New Roman. I've gotten in trouble with teachers in grade school because they knew I did not use size 14 when it said to use size 14. Or I didn't use, I purposely didn't use double spacing for double spacing. I used 1.75 spacing. They call me out on it. They're like, Anime, did you write an extra page for this paper? I'm like, yes. Like, I'm not gonna dock you points for it because you wrote it well enough. But come on. Alright, we're gonna go with Tahoma size 10. That is size 11. Disgusting. This is my go-to. Tahoma size 10. Teachers hated this font because look how close the letters are together when you type. This font has gotten me through grade school when I wanted to type papers that were approximately longer than what teachers told me to write by about 1,200 words or 3 pages. Teachers hated that. They at least didn't mind my writing. Thank the Lord. And I was like, short.
I never took off my brace when I got home. Take that off now. I have old knees. Yay!
Okay, now because I did that. Alright, you get what you get, guys. This is as good as getting for me. This is literally just last minute. It's too humid for me to think, but boy asked me,
yeah,
how to get started with writing.
Yes.
So,
good place to start.
and this is specifically like original writing, but you know, obviously we're gonna go with like the standard, the classics, but this is a perspective from an amateur. So do not expect professionals here.
If you want professionals,
I mean, we consider ourselves professional enough to like write, but at the same time, literally, I say to people, by the time you're 15, even if you've done nothing in your life, you have enough life experiences by the time you're 15 to actually write a story. It's just true. It's just true. Even if you've done nothing, that is still something worth writing about.
You know what we are, Anime?
Double to triple that now?
We are professional amateurs.
There you go.
We're professional amateur writers.
If there's a pro-am circuit, we're at the bottom up there.
But we are there.
We are there. Now, common
my
criticism.
keyboard is so weird.
Now, common criticism that my parents have of my writing is, how come you don't have anything published? In which case, I tell them, I actually have a bunch of stuff published. It's just I'm very small time, and the things I publish have been very as stuff I don't care to talk about. I've gotten the occasional article and short story published, but literally anyone can do that by just submitting, by going to like publications and like online publish and just submitting stuff to them. That's how you get articles and stuff published. That's how you get short stories published, poems, etc.
I actually have a book on my bookcase, which is
the other way is
just
just
the Idiot's Guide to Getting Published.
And the other way is literally just pay for it. You can literally pay money to be published into a compilation of something. You don't have to be good. Yeah. You just have to pay for it. I've paid to have a poem published before in high school.
Nice.
But anyway, and the poem was absolute garbage, so like I shouldn't have. Did I tell you guys where I published these? No.
You're not allowed to find out. If you want to know
ironically
what anime has published and you're gonna have to do some very good tests.
Ironically enough, if you want to read like writing I'm actually proud of, just go find my freaking blog where I talk about anime and visual novels. I'm dead serious. I have a WordPress out there. And I would say like that's like as good as it's gonna get for me for like stuff for now until like I actually like start publishing or get to the point where I have to actually like finish stuff and then I can actually publish stuff I'm proud of. I'm not proud of every short story I write, but sometimes I'm just given a topic, I put an idea out there and like I'm done. Sometimes I go, okay, we're gonna do something like today where we're gonna discuss like how to get started writing. I like basics. I like the introduction. This is like a classic one. It's like you set your scene, your like age, time, place. You set the stage, etc. This is kind of like it's like the classic, and there's a lot of great examples. Famously, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It's my name is, Holden Caulfield. I don't know. That's not how Catcher in the Rye starts, guys. It actually starts much better than that. As
I literally just wrote my first two sentences, which was kind of different. If honestly you set the scene.
Yeah. Like the introduction, when I say you set the scene, it's kind of like this like the equivalent, the essay equivalent of like the intro paragraph. It's like the hello, this is anime, here to talk about anime. Why do I want to talk about Japanese animation, which is short to anime? Blah 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 blah. Right. So the introduction style of like story intro, it's not a bad one. It's literally meant to. It's like the opening act of a play. It's like the introduction to an essay. It's like the preamble of a court case, etc. It sets the tone, the scene of a story. It's not a bad way to intro. Personally, I have used this sometimes. Personally, I have also avoided it like the plague because I like doing this one next, which is I call it in the midst of action. This is a favorite of mine where it's like it starts in the middle of an action scene moment. Think Memento. Was it Memento? The movie? Think Memento movie, but like much smaller scale. This is like yeah, like the average Final Fantasy game will start you in the moment. Like, hey, newcomer. Barrett says to Cloud from FF7, right? Or like bullets were flying overhead, things like that. Or it's like, or like I dodged this man's fists or whatever, or he sprawled a thug on the ground, etc.
Yeah.
Or it was like love at first sight, which actually kind of is closer to an introduction of like it was the best of times, where it was the worst of times. But like it's like it was love at first sight when, you know, blah blah blah. I don't write romance flicks, guys. I'm very bad at it. Literally, as an Arrow Ace person, romance is hard. Okay, I'm very logical. You know,
very logical. Romance is not.
You know, there's an entire song about that. There's entire songs plural about how logical people have trouble with romance, or how logical people try to understand romance. There's an anime about that too. It's like the science of like love or whatever it's called. I hear it's okay. Also, the Turing love song is amazing. So like this, like kind of in the midst of action. I like using this one because it feels like very impactful for free. It's literally free real estate. Feel like boom, you're in the scene. You're trying to catch. It's like literally the fishing lure of like a story start, where it's like here's the hook, line, and sinker, and you're trying to grasp, and you want the audience to bite. You know, some people don't like it. I personally like using it, so. And like when we were talking about very like generalizations right now. Obviously, we can talk about specific ways of introducing. Like for example, you could do it in the midst of action, but it could be something like, you know, this needs 3 milligrams more of nitroglycerin. You don't know why they need 3 milligrams more nitroglycerin, but boom, you're in the middle of the action. It's drawn, you know. I'm gonna change the font for your.
Bullets to Casade over the man's
I'm changing
soul.
the font for your Twitch
dressed in all black. He dies behind a table.
Changing the font for your Twitch because, like, literally on a black background, I can't see it. So.
Huh?
I said on a black background, I can't see the black portion.
Oh,
I can't
yeah.
see your full Twitch name, so I'm changing it to purple for now.
Yeah, I noticed that earlier. I just didn't say anything. Look, he'll figure it out.
I figured it out.
He'll figure it out, or someone will say something in the comments. So.
This is an intro I hate, but I love using. Dialogue.
Oh, I've actually used that, and that's how I do my Veterans Blue fanfics. Only because I can play upon
And you can use this in conjunction with like an introduction style or in the midst of action.
Do you ever wonder why we're here?
Let's reference a classic of mine. When I used to do fanfics. Name dropping Daidoji Tomoyo from Cardcaptor Sakura right there, yeah. She's a great character. By the way, if it looks like my eyes are closed, it's literally because I'm sitting at an angle and my captor is like, I can't handle you. Too bad. I know I'm supposed to sit like straight here and like, but like, you know, I'm literally just like leaning back. I'm like, it's humid AF here. So, dialogue. Literally just starting with a quote from a character. It's pretty impactful. It can be. It can establish a person's personality. Like a, well, what do we have here? Or like a, hey, move it. I'm not reading it to one that I'm not. I cannot sound as beautiful as her voice is. So we're not gonna skip that one. Of course, you know, you have the classic, like from memes. Yup, that's me. You may be wondering, how I got here. You know, etc. Right? So like
the classic comedy tropes.
Classic comedy tropes, classic dialogue tropes. So obviously, these are things that like are used like just not even only in writing, but like I guess like scripting is writing too. Yeah, it's used a lot. So like I would say that like dialogue is a good way to start it. Most YouTube videos will start with dialogue. Most Twitch, well, I usually start with "Hello, this is Korean anime," but but that is a form of introduction or like a form of like start, like your story or rolling. Those are like the big ones. Like when it comes to like just an introduction. Is there any better way that you can think of? Or is there one that you like using over others? Because I hate the dialogue one, but I love using it. I use it a lot, especially for fanfiction one.
Yeah, dialogue one kind of has its moments.
Yeah.
As I was saying earlier, I used it with my Red versus Blue, but that's because I was basically following the a joke that comes from the show.
Yeah, I mean, like just to,
like the very first words in the show were "Do you ever wonder why?" But you ever wonder why we're here? So I used that in my fanfictions, kind of be like, "Hey, it was a little joke." I mean,
by the way,
there's also
by the
not
way,
even introduction, backstory,
yeah.
Quick backstory drop.
For example, like I've definitely used like a character sighing as a introduction, which is like the kind of like in the midst of action, but the lazy version of it.
Yes.
I literally use this exact same. This character sighed while doing something for 2 different short stories, fanfiction short stories, which is why I rewrote the second one because I hated my intro. Yeah, there's a reason why I rewrote one of those. And like my slightly longer one on fanfiction.net back in the day, I literally start with a quote. Apparently started one with "In the beginning there was nothing, but it has nothing to do with our story." Is literally what he said for the first 2 sentences. Which is very I guess that would fall under like nonsense. Literally whatever. The introduction. Like putting it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, but that has nothing to do with our story. Makes no sense.
It was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
It was a
but
time.
That was somebody else's story.
But that's Charles Dickens. We're here. So nonsense
is point on the map. That's where we're at.
Yeah. Now obviously
you
can't necessarily use all these. Like for example, if you're doing a poem, you're probably not gonna have like all of these. You can. Edgar Allan Poe had some long poems. And short stories, obviously, but
I have a whole book of them, and I'm pretty certain I could use it as a weapon.
Dude, same.
He wrote a lot.
Same. I used to have the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe at some point. Don't know where it went. Unfortunately, I lose a lot of things with time and moving, and I just replace them. And then my parents go, "So you got more books, huh?"
Books is the ones that I don't lose.
I can't say the same. I have literally replaced manga volumes because I've read them too much that I damaged them over time. Replaced them. I've read books so much that I replaced them. I pick up interesting books because I think they're going to be interesting. I literally pick up... One of my favorite book types to pick up is mythology books. I love reading about mythologies of other cultures and countries.
I've only ever had 2 books.
Just fun.
Leave my one can only recall 2 books leaving my possession, and like it appears to be permanently because I lent them to people and I didn't get them back.
Oh, that one hurts.
Well, no. It was an understanding that, like, yeah, I might not get them back. One of them, like, that person stopped working there. I still see them every so often. I bet you if I ask for my book back, they'll give it back to me.
Oh man,
I'm just too lazy to ask.
I lent a coworker. This is like 15 years ago, almost. Like, I lent a coworker the LK Files of Los Angeles BB Murder Cases book, because they were kind of into Death Note. I was like, you should read this, it's really good. And then they stopped working there, so literally what I did was I just bought a new copy. I saw them 6 months later. They're like, oh, do you want your book back? I was like, oh, I already replaced it with a new copy. It's fine.
My second book, I lent it to a coworker. I was planning on moving, and I thought I was gonna transfer soon. And it's like, I'm giving this to you with the intent of you just get to keep it.
Dude, I had a friend of mine and like I do this for like anime, manga, video games and stuff too. Like, I'll lend something to someone, and then like I don't ask for it back. I just wait. I didn't wait for them to give it back to me. I lent an anime series once to someone for like 8 months. 8 months, right? And then they returned it to me. They're like, oh man, I haven't watched it yet. I'm like, go watch it first before you return it at least. And then they watch it like 2 months later, and then they return it. They're like, oh yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. Like, I knew you would. That's why I lent it to you. Because I'm also very good at recommending anime series to people, apparently. If I know you decently well enough, and you go, hey, can you recommend an anime? I like this, this, and this. I'm like, I got you. I know what your tastes are from like 5 anime series. Don't worry. It's also very fruitful that like I don't pick and choose my anime, but that's a different conversation. That's my conversation of I watch mediocre anime series to enjoy ones that are better than mediocre. But if people don't understand
basically,
that,
the thing is, does it fall in the category of anime? Yes, I'm watching it.
yeah, I mean, there's only one anime series I truly regretted watching from start to finish, which I guess I'm doing okay, all things considered. Yeah, nonsense. Nonsense. Like the conversation we just had with the tangents. It's just that. Yeah. It's literally whatever.
Literally, just write down what we wrote and then move on to the story.
Like, and like it can be it can be also story relevant nonsense. Like, you could have like 2 gods talking. They're just talking about random crap at the beginning of your story, and then boom, goes into the actual story based off the characters who actually are a part of the rest of the story. And then you can have.
Know where I used the nonsense before?
Where?
I used the nonsense for that main fiction series that I write. I used it in the descriptor. Just did a little like mini nonsense scene.
I mean, that's fair. It's believable.
Based on the idea of breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, I think like what other things you can have for an intro for like a story. I think these are like pretty simple, pretty like these cover most of your bases for it. That's why I'm saying I'm not sure what else. There probably is other things.
Technically, mine just started with onomatopoeia.
Yeah, I would say that's like midst of action. Very good, very good use of it.
A subdivision of midst of action.
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm not going to like subdivisions of this, like, you know. Because like I said, you can have like a dialogue that's like an introduction, you can have a dialogue that's in the midst of action, you can have a dialogue that's nonsense. You know, you can have in the midst of action that's like, yeah, like a sound effect, onomatopoeia. You can have a midst of action that's like, you know, like you paint this like a specific scene like in the middle of like with something happening in it. You know? So it's kinda like intro but plus a midst of action. Yeah, you can combine intro. That's a good part, right? It's like you can also like
would a backstory dump be introduction, or
it can be? It can be. I love that. Monologuing, yeah.
Oh yeah, every villain's favorite thing to do.
Could be a backstory dump. Could be a monologue. Could be a villain talking about their grandiose plans for the 1 millionth time Monologuing can be you could literally start a story with monologue. No one's gonna stop you. I'm not gonna.
What? Yawn.
You could argue it's a type of dialogue.
I had one day.
You could argue it's a type of introduction. You could be like, why don't you put onomatopoeia down / sound effect? I'm like, but like I think monologues are special because like, especially in like the fiction side of things, it is used tremendously. It's just pop.
Yeah.
You know, monologuing. So it gets a special mention. I'm not a big fan of using monologuing for introductions personally, but I've seen it and I've seen it work well, so I can't discount it.
I'm trying to figure out when I did the backstory dump, I'm trying to figure out which one it falls into. I guess the one that I did probably falls more into midst of action? Maybe?
Because
like
you gotta have a dynamic monologue, yeah. That's like in the middle of the thick of things, that sets the tone of the story, etc. Like you could have "You have fallen for my trap, Sonic the Hedgehog," said Dr. Robotnik, I guess. Said Eggman. You know?
Said Jim Carrey.
Said Jim Carrey. Depending on your interpretation.
Oh yeah, I wonder when Sonic 3's gonna come out. As I just randomly start going off into left field here.
It's okay. Tangents are a part of dialogue.
Tangents, that's the word.
Tangents are good. They keep things spicy and interesting. But yeah.
Well-placed tangents are also not bad in stories. They can help.
They flesh out characters. I would
fluff
say.
it out.
Yeah, flesh out characters. Or flesh out your world. Like, cause like
expand.
I love strategic tangents. Like in the, and we'll talk. We can also now talk about like, all right. So these are like kind of like the ways to start a story, maybe. And we should. What could be? It's not should. It's what could be in your story, maybe. I like tangents.
I mean, what should be in your story should be plot.
Oh yeah, plot. That's kind of important. Plot. Tangents. Characters.
Flashbacks. I've used flashbacks to strategically put us up in speed of like, why do we have a problem with this person?
Yeah. What else is used in our story?
Romance. Maybe not yours.
Would that be more like plot? No, man. I read fan fiction. Of course, all of them have romance in it. That's the irony.
Well, yeah.
The irony is, I put romance into all the things. Also, like my face is now, because now the word document's too big. I'm cutting it off. All right. Well.
I can actually like see the wording and stuff beforehand before you had zoomed in. But yeah, when it comes to fanfiction, it's always a question of how far does the romance go, and it's not a question of if it's there; it's how far.
I mean, like, I'm a very PG person. As in, like, you need parental guidance to deal with me. No, as in when I write, like, I keep it like PG, maybe PG-13. There'll be some swearing, at most, but like, I'm not going to like rated R or NC-17 stuff. I'm not a lemon writer, just not. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's just personal choice. I feel that PG-13 area is a good place to write fan fiction. It's very not offensive to people who will read it, you know?
I mean, I will lay my rate. I can't do words. It's been a day.
It's okay. It's okay.
I had to mentally remind myself today that I am not allowed to be slapped customers.
You can say bitch slap. I don't care.
Okay.
No, my regular dialogue's vulgar as shit. But when it comes to writing, my writing is a little bit less so. And the only reason is because like unless I need to use a swear word, I don't. Like I feel like and that's probably like kind of like swear words. We could talk about that. We could talk about that a little bit too.
Language.
But, like,
how about that language?
Swear words, language.
Swear words. Well, language can cover all.
Oh yeah, language can be more than just swear words.
Specific dialect or
language. Is it in English? Is it in?
Yeah, we'll
Korean?
do language separate. Yeah.
Is it in Spanish? Is it in Russian?
Is it with a Cockney accent?
With a Cockney accent? Dude, I cannot type. I'll be the first to admit that when it comes to language, I am very bad at typing in other dialects and stuff.
Yeah, it takes me. Gotta like sit there and sound it out. Like, okay, how would I type? How would I spell?
Everyone talks in just regular English for me. Not American English, not English, not Cockneyed, regular, plain.
I'm realizing I may have to do some research into
British. But to be fair, language is more than just accents. It's also word choice. And that's where I shine. It's like I choose specific words for specific characters to give a specific impression of the character.
Yes, it's very important. Like I have a character, my fanfiction, who doesn't swear, as far as most people here. It's something that's gonna come up and people are gonna be like, dude, so why don't you swear? And someone else is gonna be like, oh, you haven't been in the maintenance bay while they've been in there, have you?
Yeah. What else could stories be in our stories? Maybe. Oh, I would say action specifically. And when I say action, it's different for plot. Like, well, we could talk about it, but yeah. I mean, like, firstly, let's talk about what is plot, right? I would say plot.
Oh, I got one.
What's
world building?
World building?
Yeah.
I like that world building. Yeah. Like, cause like you have to eventually do world building. If it's like something other people don't know.
Even if it's a real life place, you gotta build up.
Yeah, because like not everyone's been to like New York City, for example. You have to describe the feelings of a person who's never been to New York City to a person that's never been to New York City. That is a part of world building.
I'm going to have to describe walking into a bookstore and the fact that when you walk in, you get overwhelmed, or not overwhelmed, you get enveloped with the sense of new and old paper along with the smell of leather
especially
and
when you walk into,
dust.
especially when you walk to like a used bookstore, you get a very different sense than like you walk into like a Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, no, there's like tucked away bookstore.
And also like, you know, from a character standpoint, the sensation of a person who loves walking into a bookstore versus a person who literally is there to go, I'm here to buy my newspaper and leave. Very different characters. And you know, obviously these all flow into one another, but plot, like, you know, still the plot, flow into the characters, you got flashbacks relevantly to like reinforce the plot. You could have characters who go on tangents, who swear, or how to use specific language, or where their actions speak louder than the words or their dialogue. You have world building that is plot relevant, world building completely irrelevant to the plot, but it is there for those people who want to immerse themselves into the world while you do your own thing with your own characters, you know, in this section of it.
Something else that may sound like it might go into one of those, but I think to be kept separate, character development. Or character growth.
Not all characters have to grow.
Yeah, not all characters have to grow.
But I think character development and growth, I would say that in almost all these cases, you can grow any of these. But so I would say like,
I mean,
Because like you can have like the world development, you got plot developments, you got tangent developments or tangent growth. You have swears.
So
like you can call someone a piece of shit, or you can say you are the most foul. You're the most foul legacy that even Satan themselves would not touch. Still a piece of shit. You're still calling them a piece of shit. It's just you're calling them out for it, you know. So you could I would say growth / development is like its own like. This is kind of like the modifier.
Yeah.
The modifier for the other stuff in
Modifree.
Modifree. Modifree. For the other stuff
Is that
in
new
your
Pokemon?
story. No, it's a Digimon. Modifremon. Done. So like growth is like the modifier like to your other story stuff. And the reason is because like if you keep everything static, your story becomes boring. But unless that's your intention. In which case it's interesting. I mean
sometimes you want to intentionally
maybe
not grow a character.
Also I guess intention is also very important. This is also a modifier for the other stuff in your story. Like, because your intentions can be, this is what's going to happen with this character or this part of the world or the story, etc. Like a slice of life, you know, the intention is that most slices of life, there might be some growth or development of the characters. You know, characters might go up like grade level, etc. But for the most part, slice of life, the intention is it's meant to be like a healing series where your expectations are going to be very curbed because you're going to just want the same thing given to you. The same thing over and over. And you want to enjoy that. And that's fine. That's the intention. But like, you know...
So I wanted to kind of rewind a little bit to the growth and development. I have a character that I intentionally am causing to have no growth.
Yeah.
It is a villain. And the point is he's supposed to be an annoying little shit. So I am intentionally not growing and developing him because he's supposed to be an annoying little shit. Whereas why the fuck won't you stay dead?
And on the flip side, like the intention could be you have a villain that doesn't grow or it's not supposed to grow or develop, but they still grow and develop. They're still the same piece of shit, but they've grown and developed.
Like a linear growth of.
Oh, not even linear. Just enough. Like one great example of a villain from a video game, actually, where the character doesn't grow or develop necessarily, but you learn more about them, so they grow and develop because you've learned more about them, but they haven't themselves changed at all. It's Handsome Jack from Borderlands 2. I think it's an excellent example of a villain that grows and develops without ever actually growing or developing.
As long as we don't include the pre-sequel?
Well, the pre-sequel is like, how did Handsome Jack get to where he is in Borderlands 2? Because once he really reaches Borderlands 2, he is where he is.
Yes.
Which I will argue is the reason why Borderlands 2
fanfic.
which is also why I would argue Borderlands 2 is a better game than the pre-sequel. One of the reasons why.
Something I would suggest for up-and-coming writers, don't be afraid to do just like on the side a little story where you can see how crazy of a character you can write. That's not the word I used when I was creating this one.
For me, I will be the first to admit I can never write a character more crazy than my thought process is. Which means that characters have literally, quite literally, no boundaries or bounds.
I wrote a character where I pushed that character right up to my lines.
I think the hardest character...
In essence, how fucked up of a character I can write without pushing my personal boundaries.
I think the hardest character I ever wrote was I had to write a female on female lovemaking scene. Like, because this was a part of like an RP group. And like, if you guys don't know, I'll reiterate this, I'm not female. Despite my avatar's looks, I am not a female.
Gasp!
Gasp, I know. Literally, people have heard my voice and go, "You're using a voice changer." I'm like, "There's some. That's some. This is from like 15 years ago." I'm like, "That's some great voice changers that I have access to." They did not have those voice changers back then, guys. We barely had Miku, and they thought I was using a voice changer to sound like for my voice to sound the way it is. I'm like, no, I'm literally a guy. I'm literally male.
And that's
they go, you're lying.
Enough credit. I mean, sometimes you don't need voice changers.
Which is so funny. This is back in like mid 2000s where this is mid 2000s where everyone's like, if you're on the internet, guys are guys and girls are guys. People were saying that I'm a girl. I'm like, me? What? Why me? Like, no, you're lying about your gender. You're actually female. Like, no, I'm not. What do you mean?
Yeah, I sometimes get the, yeah, you're what, 13-year-old boy, right? I'm like,
13?
No.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, like, yeah. I'm just saying like, no.
You're at least, you're at least 14, okay?
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. I didn't realize I was that old.
You're at least of legal age to get working papers in the state of New York, which is 14 years of age. Anyway, for part-time work.
IRL, people who meet me IRL kind of give the, are they old enough to drink or are they under?
I'm just sad that I've lost enough hair that people don't ID me anymore for lotto tickets. Occasionally I still get ID'd for alcohol, but not for lottery tickets anymore, guys. The dream is dead, and so is my hairline. It's dying. It's dying fast. That's why whenever you see me stream, I'm wearing a hat. There's a reason for that.
I mean, am I dumb? Technically, the computers ask for date of birth and therefore ID for like specific cold medications, but I don't check people's IDs unless they legit look like they might be under 18.
I'll be honest, I have been ID'd more for cold medication the past year than I have for alcohol, and that makes me sad. It could
Since the pandemic started, I've only ID'd one person.
It could also be because I've bought more cold medicine the past year than I have alcohol, but that's neither here nor there, okay? Dude,
we like to sleep.
Dude, I did all my alcohol shopping and bought when I bought like 4 bottles like a year and a half ago. I haven't bought alcohol really since. But I need to get like I need to get like Dayquil like 5 times in the past year because like flu. And I've got ID'd like 3 of them.
Ooh, that's an idea.
Because like we need to scan your ID just so we can get the medicine out of this cabinet. I'm like, okay. Okay. Sag. Yeah, plot. When we talk about plot, we mean story. Specifically. Not booba.
Yeah.
That's an anime only thing, guys. I'm putting that in there as an anime fan, not the booba. We're talking about the story. And some people are like, oh, the story of like High School DxD is the booba. I'm like, well, I guess you're not.
I mean, I was once part of a fanfiction writing competition, and literally that was the plot point of, well, that general idea was basically the plot point of all the other writers, except for me.
I'll go crazy in that competition.
Out of like the 4 contestants, I'm sitting there like, I didn't do
Dude, I should do more fanfiction competitions. I used to like, it's like also one of the other places where you might have seen me publish a work or two. It's like the either fandoms doing like a fanfiction competition or just like a fanfiction like celebration. Like, hey, everyone, like write a fanfic with this topic for this fandom because we like this. Dude, I was actually once asked to be a judge for like a fanfic writing competition. I was so honored. I was like, yay. Like, me, little me? I'm like, gladly. I didn't write a single fanfic for that series yet, but sure. I don't know why they chose me, but there was like 100 entrants. And I read a lot of fanfics, guys. And we literally said no, like limes and lemons, aka no NC-17 stuff, and literally like a third of them we were just thrown out like round one because of that. Like, come on, guys, follow directions. Follow directions, okay? Anyway, so obviously story is important, you know. This is like this is in most cases like a lot of your driving forces and motivations of like the rest of the world and things are revolving around your story. Yeah. Like, for example,
like you need to set up what's causing what.
If John Wick's dog isn't ever killed, like John Wick doesn't go on a revenge rampage through 4 movies. You know?
I can finally say, I know this reference. I truly know that reference.
You do know the reference.
I finally saw John Wick.
It's okay. I haven't watched it, so I'm just guessing. Like, you know.
I mean, everyone spoiled the storyline.
I mean, I just heard man very angry and goes on revenge murder rampage because someone killed his dog. Understandable. That's the plot summary I got.
That's basically how it starts. That's basically how the whole series starts. All
right, well there you go. Understandable. It has to have the understandable in it as well. As that his motivations are understandable.
Can get split up too.
Yeah. And like, you know, the plot doesn't have to be that.
Doesn't even have to start in the first one.
Yeah, like literally, the plot could be something you introduce.
Oh, I mean, like you can have plot and then you can have subplot.
Yeah, subplots. Like some people argue those can be tangents, but like, yeah.
Well, I mean, what I'm planning for my story is I'm kind of thinking at least 3 volumes, like 3 books. But main plot doesn't start up until the 2nd book.
Yeah, I mean, like that's fair because like
book 1 has like a subplot, somewhat, for that specific book to introduce us into everything. And the main character into everything, like introduce the main character into all this. And also get introduced into what
this is going back to like hooking people into the story. There's a lot of times where that's going to happen, where you're like reading a book, watching an anime, you know, watching a film, where like you're gonna feel like, okay, this is all just like intro fluff, and then you get to like, oh, this is the real story. Yeah, that's done intentionally, guys.
Yeah.
But more and more so, people are...
why you'd have that "oh shit" moment.
Yo, if you could get the "oh shit" reaction from like your audience member,
you've done it right.
You've done it right. You've done it. You've done it. Tangents.
You have mastered the art.
This is once again like kind of like literally whatever the nonsense, but it could also be tangents that give hits. And those are my favorite types of tangents where it gives clues, you know? Sprinkle a little bit like...
fluff.
Yeah, or use it for like world building.
Future clue.
Future clues. Or like just like general world building where it'll be like, hey, Jim. Hey, Bob. Man, it's so hard working in the human factory. And you're like, what the fuck's a human factory? And then they'll be like, oh yeah, I hate it when they... Yeah. We have to do this stuff.
I have planted tangents into my fanfiction before, where it's like, I'm writing, and it's like, I know no one's gonna pay attention to this. No one is going to remember this.
You'd be surprised.
Oh no! It is literally set up like, okay, so there's a fluff bit, and it's not gonna pop back up. So I dropped it like beginning half of Volume 2, it's not gonna pop up until like end of Volume 3.
Now that we're looking for it, they're gonna be
exactly
like,
no,
we know.
It's gonna be like, wait a second.
This is when you change the length of the book, so it actually happens at different points of the book. You're like, haha, got him. Actually, at the end of book 2, it started. What? But yeah, tangents I think are important because like these could be like fluffy dialogue text can actually be something that establishes like a character's personality better, establishes the world better, can give hints to like future developments in the plot, or can even talk about things that are happening that are not story relevant but that are important enough to mention. Like, for
Basically,
example,
they play into the world building.
yeah, they play into the world with it. Like, Spice and Wolf has so many, like, what seems like tangents if you watch the anime or read the light novel that seem irrelevant to the world, but they actually are building the world and the plot for things to come.
I must ask, I have not read the light novel. I have not watched the anime. I have read the manga, though. Are we
Manga
talking
does
about
the
when
same
they sit
thing.
there and they discuss the mercantile?
Yeah.
The merchantry? Okay, yeah,
or like,
I love
even like the tangents where it's like, oh yeah, you know, you have to divert your path to this way because this gate's closed. Things like that. You know?
Yeah.
So, like, tangents can be very important, but they don't have to be. They can literally just be like, hey Bob, hey Jim, nice coffee we got here. Yup. That's it. That's a tangent. Place has nice coffee, I guess.
That reminds me of something I did in one of mine. It did not end that nice. It did not end that nice. There was one guy.
And then they get stepped on.
Like, hey, you still play poker with us.
And then they get stepped on by Godzilla.
No, that's not what happened. What happened? So the tangent I did was these two guys are walking the guards and stuff. And guys like, hey, dude, you still play poker with us? And guys like, no, you didn't take me for all number. And the guy's like, no, I won't do that. Bill? And then all of a sudden the dude's head spins around and snaps.
What is this, Alpenlied?
No. It's My Red vs. Blue. There's a reason why My Red vs. Blue main series
it's Alpenlied, but much funnier.
Basically, the reason why My Red vs. Blue is rated M is not because of sexual stuff. It is not. It does have language, but it's not because of language. It is because of gore.
If it had sexual stuff, it would be more NC-17. But M can have sexual themes, depictions, etc.
Mine has suggestion of, hey, you don't want to know what's going on behind that door, so we're gonna hint there might be things going on behind that door, but we're gonna walk away from that. That's kind of how mine goes.
Oh yeah, if I do like I will always say, and this is a story. Use this as you will. It's a weapon and a curse. I like using the audience's imagination against them.
Let them picture it.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, you guys probably picture this better than I can even picture it myself. So you guys, you'll have fun with that.
Fade to Black is a great way of Fade to Black is a great way of telling the story without telling the story. Yeah. And if you leave it up to a person's imagination. And this is different from, like, okay, so in, like, I have a story that has a R-word scene because I cannot say that word on Twitch.
Fair enough.
And it's from the perspective of the person who's getting R-worded. And that scene reads as if you don't want to be there. For very obvious reasons. And it's all dialogue. No description. It's all thoughts, dialogue, no description. But I have run the dialogue past a few key people, like, and it's something I wrote like 15 plus years ago already. So, I've ran it by like a few of like my writing friends. They're like, I absolutely abhor this scene. How did you capture this moment this way? I'm like, my brain's fucked up. I just put myself in that situation on like how I would write dialogue from this character's perspective, and I just did that.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even imagine that? I go, well, it's a part of the story I'm telling this character. It's a part of the plot.
Yeah, I have a different story idea where, unfortunately, that subject does come up.
Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to ever publish it because I found out that it actually hits very close to home for too many people. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess PTSD is even worse. The fact that I was accurate enough for our victims or like people who were like who have been like in compromised situations, like that was unwarranted and uncalled for. It was like, oh, okay, and then you know, I'm just not gonna. I'm just not. You
found yourself in a position of, I just wanted to write this well enough so you knew what was going on without me having to say.
Unfortunately, I wrote it too well, is what people said, and so like I literally just, it's written down. Because like what I also like to do in my writing process is I write things down physically, and then I will do touch-ups in a digital format. Yeah, no, that version does not exist anymore. It's just gone.
It only exists in your memory. Your specific memory.
No, it exists in physical paper form because I've saved all my writing since I was like 12. I have like notebooks and notebooks full of handwritten like story stuff. So it's in a pile. It's in one of the piles there. But it is never going to see the light of day for obvious reasons. Oh yeah, characters. Character motivation is important.
Oh, I thought of how I can deal with that. I was thinking of like how I would deal with that. As I said, a different story idea of mine. Mm-hmm. That's a subject that comes up. I think what I might do for mine is just pick up after the moment.
Yeah, even
you know what I mean?
Like even then, like it's like when
it has to do with the film.
When I had a friend of mine who had, you know, they didn't get to that point, but they had situations that they were in a situation that was kind of similar to that, and they got PTSD. I was like, oh, that was not my intention. And I realized, like, okay, that might be in poor taste. And that's the reason why I cut it.
Yeah, I haven't even written this story. Well, I guess I have technically started writing that story, but
also, like, you know, it is you know, you could choose.
It may even just be a.
You could choose which portions of story you keep in your story. You know, you don't have to.
Yeah, thankfully, that stuff does not pop up in the story I'm working on. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, that was some.
We still have death and sacrifice.
I mean, you know what? Death and sacrifice is much easier to work with for a lot of people than
death, sacrifice, and the heartbreak father.
And with that said, like, I think it goes without saying that there's obviously people who have written those kind of stories. And sadly from like personal experience too, so you know,
if you're writing about stuff that could potentially trigger people, be very careful with your writing.
But warnings help, whether that's in fan fiction or that's in your in regular fiction, autobiographies. Remember,
reasons why I rate mine M is simply for gore factor.
Yeah,
and I don't think I even get that detailed in the gore either.
Obviously, disclaimers are nice, like where it's like, hey, you know, these kind of situations may be coming up. If you're uncomfortable with it, feel free to skip this.
Yeah, I've actually seen them do that with webtoons, like on specific episodes. They say like, this specific episode contains this kind of stuff, just a heads up.
Yeah, like, and even like anime series I've been doing, like, where it's like, this episode contains graphic depictions, blah blah blah, if your discretion is advised, you know.
I've seen ones where it's like, oh yeah, this episode contains violence, and it's someone just getting punched in the face, and it's just like, I mean, I guess we have those trigger warnings. I'm glad that they're there. I'm glad that someone took the initiative. We can say that this one was a lesser one, because it doesn't sound like a whole lot of, like, gore and stuff. But it's like, it's kind of nice that they still give the heads up just in case.
Especially if it's, like, just different from, like, the rest of the 5 of the story. It's like, it's good to have that there.
Yeah. Like most of the story has just been like people talking back and forth, and then all of a sudden this episode has someone getting punched in the face.
Yeah, exactly. And characters are a backbone part of your plot, your world. You know, and they're gonna do their things. Yeah. I don't know if
make sure you flesh them out as much as you can too.
Yeah. You want to.
Although sometimes you flesh them out so much they're like, oops, I overdid it.
Oh, I mean, like, to be fair, you know, there's a difference between, like, you know, they have heterochromatic eyes from an accident in the lab to this is the number of hair follicles you have.
Oh, I mean, like, I have characters.
And on the flip side,
so
purposely
details about them that's purposely
keeping details simple or vague can also be a writing trope. Think Saitama from One Punch Man. He looks very plain and easy to draw for a reason, guys. That was intentional.
Yes, he's supposed to appear basic AF.
And his workout routine is supposed to be relatively basic compared to how strong he actually becomes from doing it, which is just a part of the comedy trope for that one, and that you could say is part of the story or the plot. Ooh. Flashbacks.
A great way for interspersing backstory in a way that feels more natural instead of just throwing it all at the front.
Now, there are a lot of people that don't like flashbacks. Who go, I know this story. Why do I need a flashback? You're not the only person who's reading. One person who memorizes every detail from day zero release. Okay.
I have used flashbacks strategically.
Plus, flashbacks can help reiterate things like a character's motivation, the plot, or the story that you're trying to tell. You know, could be part of the world building.
Might be missing a leg.
Or you know, if you're fighting for revenge. Having a flashback of like John Wick playing with his dog might help the audience go, "Oh, that dog's so cute. No wonder John Wick's so angry."
Enforcement.
You know, I don't know if there's a flashback in John Wick at all because you know what? But yeah, flashbacks are very useful.
I've watched the first two.
And there's some people who outright don't use flashbacks in their storytelling. It's like,
oh yeah.
Why?
And flashbacks is not something that I would necessarily put in all of my stories. It's just my one fanfic in Volume 1. There was a perfect opportunity to use flashback.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were up to chapter 3 and we're like, well, what? The audience is like, well, what is the deal between this character that he introduced and the villain he introduced? He said something about like he's the reason she's missing his leg or something like that, but what was the story behind that?
I will give an honorable mention to a very specific type of flashback that isn't a flashback. It's called the flash forward. I love flash forwards to stories. I
don't see that often, but it should be a very
when it's used like have you watched Violet Evergarden?
Yes, I love Violet Evergarden.
Dude,
that is an anime I
that
would highly
flash forward was so good. That flash forward.
You're talking about the movie, right?
No, I'm talking about the one with the little girl and her mother who's dying of their terminal illness.
Yeah, I think I thought. Oh wait, maybe they did do a flash forward in the episode. I'm thinking of the movie where they I guess in the movie, technically the movie, most of it was a flashback.
The movie actually utilized flashbacks and flash forwards very well because it was actually meant to flesh out parts of the story we didn't know yet. Which is a different way of using a flashback and a flash forward is just telling you the things that you had questions about throughout the entire series up to that point. So in that case, a flashback doesn't have to be retelling the story you've already told. It can be telling new story that adds to the story that you've already told. Well,
that's what I think I've read flash forwards in. Yeah. I think The Witcher, the first Witcher book uses flash forwards.
Yeah. Well, specifically talking about the little girl whose mother is dying of terminal illness. And so
Yeah, with the letters.
I thought that was so good. And they do the full flash forward to like I think like the 30 plus year, like, because obviously she wrote like 50 years worth of letters or something, and they flash forward to like 30 years of it, like really quickly at the end of that episode. It's so good. And if you haven't watched it, I probably just spoiled it slightly, but Violet Evergarden still is very good.
If you haven't watched Violet Evergarden, you need to go watch that ASAP.
Dude, that opening song is so beautiful.
Violet Evergarden is on the list of animes I would recommend to my mom, and that is a very short list.
And the dub's pretty dang good. If you guys haven't watched it dub, have you watched it dub? The dub's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was putting it out there, you know. We love Violet Evergarden. That's a tangent. Got him. But also I really love. I'm not as big of a fan as flashbacks unless they're utilized well, such as when they're filling in gaps of the story, or I like flashbacks that like explain the full story. You know, that once again, because it fills in like some of the gaps. Even if I knew the answer, it's nice seeing it told to me, you know? Sometimes. It's like I have a hypothesis. And the story goes, we got you, fam. Your hypothesis is correct. I'm like, I knew it. I knew that's what the flashback would tell me. But I really love flash forwards. With that said,
can also be used as tangents too.
Swear words.
Like how we talk about tangents.
Yeah.
Well, no. I've used flashbacks the same way. Like we were talking about tangents. There's things with tangents that you can do with flashbacks.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, we're getting a flashback. Pay attention to what I'm talking about. There might be a clue in here.
There are video games that have entire sections where you play like a past section, sometimes as a different character in a flashback, and it's also always really cool when games do that too. Just saying.
Final Fantasy.
Ace Attorney, as well. Swear words.
I don't think I got that far in Ace Attorney.
I think
For flashbacks, that is.
Oh, I think it's the. Have you played the Miles Edgeworth games?
No, I have not.
I think both the first and
2
second one
and
have a flashback scene where you play as like a different character, and it's actually very fun. Especially the second one, because Miles Edgeworth Investigations 2 is JP only, so you obviously have to, you know, get your own copy of it, and then get your own ROM from your own copy of it, and then patch it yourself with the English translation made by a fan. But that one has a really
Japanese.
cool flashback. Or learn Japanese, yeah. Swear words. We don't fucking use them.
I was gonna say, speak the language. Swear words.
I'm kidding, we do use them. I said like personal preference. I don't like using swear words that often. Just in general, for like my writing. But that's a personal preference.
It depends on the character.
Yeah, and like I agree with you there. By the way, it's like it could be very character dependent on whether or not
the character. It could be the setting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's gonna be swear words in the one that I'm currently writing, but my Red vs. Blue fanfic, most characters swear, except like the one that I mentioned. Like,
yeah. And I will say, like, you know, there is like easy ways like to note sometimes like a world building thing with swear words. Like you might be in high society where no one says a swear word. Everyone's like, ha 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 ha. Well, kind of like, ha ha ha, but we're assholes.
I have a Legend of Zelda I was writing where there's gonna be no swear words because it's supposed to be like family friendly because it's Zelda.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like and like you know like and this it might seem overused, but like a lot of urban settings have rougher language because they don't have the infrastructure that provided the education to give them more flowery or elegant language, depending on your perception of that kind of type of language. So like obviously they use more, either common, easily common and used words, or swear words, stuff that they learn from the people around them, because that's all they're talking. Things like that. So swear words can be useful. It can be very useful for establishing characters, world building. And it could just be you want to drop an F-bomb somewhere. It could be that simple, You just want to drop an F-bomb. Oh, did my stream freeze?
Oh, wait, there it is. It was just sitting frozen for the longest time. I don't know if that's my side or your side, but now it's... I can see it moving now.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm not sure.
Ah.
Yeah. But yeah, going from swear words to language, like I said, language is important. I think that your word choice, especially if you don't change up your the accents, or you don't type a Cockney accent well, etc.
Yeah.
Language can be very important because that could make or break a story.
Language can be great. With the whole Cockney accent, there is a series that I've read, the Steampunk Chronicles. Mm-hmm. There is one character in it who normally speaks with a Cockney accent.
Yeah.
But it is pointed out that this is how he speaks when he's because he kind of runs a bit of a game and stuff. That's how he speaks for the game. But when he's in private with specific people, he doesn't use the accent, and it's part of his character building.
Yeah, and that is a very good way of using language to your advantage. And like I said before, I write everything in just regular standard English, not American English, not English, no accents or dialects. So my language is all word choice to reflect characters' personalities.
Language can also be used to drop clues too. In my Red vs. Blue fanfiction, so because there's Lopez in the show, who is a Spanish-speaking robot, I literally straight up tell people stuff in the Spanish, but I don't translate it to English. So it's if they want to go through and translate it to English, they can find out, hey, that character's missing a leg, and the robot actually notices that, whereas nobody else has noticed that she's missing a leg.
Yeah.
Nobody knows why they're arguing except Lopez, and he straight up says it in Spanish.
There you go.
Nobody knows except Lopez.
Yeah, and at one of the other extremes is just because they're talking different languages.
Yeah, if you don't want to translate it, you're going to have a slightly different experience than someone who decides to don't translate it. But it's still going to be a fun experience.
Yeah, exactly. Action. I like action scenes. I like describing action scenes. I like describing the motion of weapons in action or people in action. And this is just strictly from a person who has taken a bunch of different classes on different martial arts and stuff all throughout my life. So action is interesting to me personally.
Action can be different things though too.
Yeah, it could be. It could be basic things. It doesn't have to be fighting. I like fighting scenes.
It could be dancing.
It could be the actions that someone takes when they walk into a new place for the first time.
But the dancing, I want to bring up a great example. The Witcher had a really good scene that has to do with dancing and this party, but if you write your accent properly, you can convey so much to it.
Yeah. Also, I'm gonna say a movie that stands out for which the plot side story is all about the actions of the characters. Save the Last Dance. I know it's a very weird movie to bring up, but it's literally a movie about dancing, about hip hop dancing. So of course, if the characters can't dance and dance well, or learn to dance well, there wouldn't be a movie. Just saying. I'm just putting that out there, based on true events, by the way.
But how the Andrei Sapkowski wrote that dancing scene in The Witcher. So in that paragraph, he's talking about these people are dancing and this is how the music is playing, but he words it. He does a specific way of writing it, and it's like he does shorter sentences and kind of moves all around, and you can get a sense for how the music feels. But just why I say how cool. You write it is going to potentially give more than you actually write.
Yeah, and I will say when it comes to like a dance scene or a fight scene, if you don't know how to write your fight scene without just like, oh, Goku punched 100 times and Vegeta also punched 100 times and it was a draw, like, you know, and when you can rewrite that as like Goku unleashed a flurry of blows against Vegeta, who returned in kind, and neither could really get the upper hand on the other. You know, just changing it ever so slightly. It's a good way to like become better at writing action. You know, whether that's fighting, dancing, or other ones, right? Is a nice cheaty way is to find how other people do, and then just integrate that into your style and see if you can make it work. Or another way is
kinds of action scenes.
Yeah, or another way is like, for example, like if I wanted to like describe a fight scene, and it's like, let's say it's like let's say I'm describing a fight scene between someone who uses their fists and someone who uses like a sword, but the fist fighter is much better than the sword fighter. I'll find a scene from like an anime or something where a main character who fights with their fist fights against like a mook with their sword or something. And be like, how would I describe this? And just kind of like write what I observed. And then mold it later, you know? That's another technique I would recommend to people, is the idea of like, you can write something and then update it later. I wouldn't recommend it for like physical copies personally, but like, it's like, I believe in the one strikeout so you can read what you wrote before, just in case it inspires you for other things.
And use the strengths and knowledge that you have. Like, I have a lot of knowledge. I have knowledge from when I did karate as a kid. So, if I'm doing action scenes of hand-to-hand combat, I can be very detailed. Like, they threw this punch, so this person reacted this way with this move, and so on and so forth. But I don't have a lot of knowledge of ballroom dancing. And there's ballroom dancing also in the same fanfic too. So, I was able to convey just enough of the ballroom dancing to basically the fades to black kind of idea you were talking about.
Yep.
Just
rewatch that scene from Final Fantasy VIII again when Renoa's teaching Squall how to dance. You want a good example of how to do like a teaching moment well, an action well.
I even had someone give me props on like how I set up that scene. Just they were like, that was the perfect song choice for those characters.
Oh, and
sometimes it's just like
I
little
will
details.
say, like, yeah, I'm like similar to Peanut Butter Boy. I'm not much of a dancer, but I senior year in high school, senior year in high school, I had to learn how to ballroom dance for a spring musical, right? So literally, I actually can draw on that experience now. If I want to describe somebody learning how to dance now, so that's always cool.
I have to learn how to do the waltz, and then I have to teach the fiance how to do the waltz for a wedding.
Oh yeah,
That's gonna be fun.
That'd be a funny scene to have, like if you have two characters, a little plot or story revolves on two characters getting married at the end, and then like you put like a little like tangent or scene there where it's like one of them has to learn to dance from the other. Or like, you know, obviously learning stopped and they're at the altar already. It's like, all right, well, this is the best we could do. That sounds like it'd be fun. Anyway, yeah.
Oh my god, fiance's computer is turned up so loud, and my ear that doesn't have a headphone on it, I can hear Minecraft music.
Lol.
He is upstairs.
World building. For example,
Minecraft world building.
Literally
world building.
Anyway, world building obviously, you know, is fleshing out the world that the characters live in or interact and stuff in. It doesn't necessarily have to be plot important, and it doesn't necessarily have to be important enough to give its own section. But we do, because at times you actually utilize world building, very worth your while.
Yeah.
Yeah. But essentially, it's meant to flesh out like the environments, the world, you know. Like it's cool that you're going through a jungle, but if there's like no animals, like is it really a jungle? Which I've seen people try to do
Walk through the
before.
jungle and all of a sudden, moo.
Yeah, also like world building, it's kind of important to be consistent. Like you don't want to have like, I don't know. I got.
Sometimes world building can have a lot of research behind it.
Yes. Okay, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Actually,
you do not realize how much research I put into trying to do world building to set up a scene to have one character basically get attached to a magnet, an electromagnet. I did a lot of research on that scene.
I will also say
needs to do.
For me personally, I utilize world building a lot, not in my own writing for like writing, like stories and stuff, but I actually use it a lot in like D&D. Because I don't use I don't use campaigns. Like I don't use pre-made campaigns. I make up everything on the fly, or I make up things like on my own. And literally, like, I name stuff on the fly. This comes to language, but like I like drawing inspiration from other languages when I want to use exotic sounding names for like cities and stuff. I'll really look up like I want this city. This city's kind of theming is like for me for the world building aspect. It's like, oh, this is like, you know, a city of commerce. So I might look up like commerce in Hindi, and then that is it's a Vyapar. I'm like, that's the word I'm going to use to like describe the either describe the place or to name the place. And then and those who know it's like, oh, use commerce, cool. Or we're like, wow, that's lazy. Yeah. I'm like, that's the entire point. Okay, I like
it's not lazy. I use that tactic a lot. I'll use it for naming characters. I was starting to try to create my own text-based game. And I was like, what do I call this place? I translated, what was it, greenish brown into Gaelic.
There you go.
That's the name of the town.
And like for a D&D campaign I was running for like people who've never played D&D before, I literally everything was like something city was the name, and that was like the in joke. If you knew, you knew. If you don't, you don't. So like everything had the word city in it, translated to like the whatever. For example, there's a place I called like the Sea City, and I just translated to Spanish and see if anyone noticed. Even though like there's 4 Spanish speakers in that group.
Like lot.
They didn't even like call me out on it.
Real place too.
Which I think is funny. Huh? What's up, Butterboy?
Or was it the other way?
Huh?
So, in real life, there's a place called Lock Lake.
Oh, okay.
Which, for those who don't know, it translates to Lake.
Yep. Did we say
so
that?
if you think...
Did we say, was it the Sahara Desert?
They've done it in
the
real
Sahara
life.
means desert, so we're calling it the Desert.
Oh, yes.
As well?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we do this a lot IRL.
Don't call us lazy. Yeah, don't call us lazy for doing it in writing, because it's done in real life.
Yeah, we make those mistakes in real life, too. Anyway, I think we talked about growth
ATM
and development
machine.
and intention already. Oh, I do not say ATM machine. I say ATM.
Yeah, I know I'm gonna say ATM.
That's the one
But
I
some
don't
people
say.
will say ATM machine.
Yeah, people do. I go, no, it's ATM. The M in ATM stands for machine. I correct people on that one. I have
You're gonna
friends
say
of
machine
mine.
at the end to say AT machine.
Yep. Or I say AT machine. Which also people think is weird when I say it that way. Which is why I usually say ATM. Let's see. Now, with after all this discussion, but have you gotten like an inspiration on how you wanted to start your story? I think you said yes already, right?
Yeah, I have a couple sentences already.
There you go. So that was actually the real reason why we did this.
I don't want to sell my sword, but I don't know how far.
Yeah, and I figured this would be like a great way to just kind of like, I don't know, just talk about things and to like, and you know, hopefully, if anyone else ever comes across this, hopefully it becomes a resource for you. Yeah, I'm ending stream now, guys. If you couldn't tell.
I also suggest flesh out enough the plot that you get excited to write it, and not just, I don't know, maybe this plot, because it's not gonna work out too great.
Obviously, there's other things we could talk about in the story. We talk about like, you know, conclusions, like how you end the story. What do you, well, you know, like, did you actually
what kind
convey
of plots you can have?
did you actually convey what you wanted to, etc. Like, you know, matching like environments or your world to like the themes of your story is also something that some people do, instead of just like, okay, well, I want to make this kind of world, and you make it, and then go, okay, now the characters are here doing their own thing. Some people actually purposely.
Are you spreading a message?
Yeah, exactly. So there's like a lot of other things we could talk about that we didn't, and that's fine. Like, that's, you know, this is amateur hour, you know.
Amateur hour.
So I hope you guys enjoyed. You know, the two writers just chilling, talking about writing, and you know, if you're a writer, like, I hope that if you are able to take one thing away from us, anything, I think we did our job. So have a good night. Peace.
Have a good night.